Rutgers and Syracuse coming up next on ESPN2. Stick around.
Feel it to feel to it here tonight as we get set for our fourth and final quarterfinal at the Big East Championship. It's the Syracuse Orange take on the upset-minded Rutgers Scarlet Knights next. Maybe it's the 8 million pairs of eyes fixed on your every move. Or maybe it's inside you, the desire to rise above the smog and make your mark.
Can't get this pressure pouring out of my head. Can't get this pressure pouring out of my head.
The city loves an underdog, and Gotham got its fix with a little local flair. The pressure falls on Syracuse to ensure it's not two upsets in as many nights.
Pressure, 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 pressure.
It's time to block out all that noise, the blinding lights, those blaring horns, and deal with a pressure that is about to explode.
Can't get this pressure pouring out of my head. Pressure, 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 pressure.
Welcome back to New York City, everybody, inside Madison Square Garden for our continuing coverage of Championship Week, presented by 7-Up, a quarterfinal matchup here at the Big East Championship, presented by Aeropostale. Rutgers, the 11th seed, which knocked off Notre Dame last night, taking on the number 3 seed, the Syracuse Orange. Already today, West Virginia knocked out the number 1 seed, Boston College. Villanova defeated Pittsburgh, and Connecticut just survived with a narrow 4-point win over Georgetown. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore with you here at a packed house. We got red, we got orange, we've got Rutgers and Syracuse. The Orange have not been a very consistent team up and down the last few weeks. What do they need to accomplish here this week in New York?
Well, let's look back in January, the 24th of January, I should say. The last time these two teams met, Syracuse came from behind. They hit the 20-win mark. Since then, in the 9 games after, only 4-5. And the reason is they need to get other people involved in their offense. You can't rely just on Hakim Warrick and Gerry McNamara.
And it's always a treat to watch Hakim Warrick play basketball. Just a couple of days ago, Len named the Big East Player of the Year.
Well, Hakim Warrick has been absolutely terrific. 32.7 rebounds in the last 3 games. You know, he's a guy that you have to game plan for.
Look for him on the inside and look up if you want to keep an eye on him, because he'll be elevating tonight. But our Star Watch, Len, features a couple of pretty impressive guards as well.
Well, Ricky Shields from Rutgers, 21 points last night. He's a guy that's got tremendous range. And Gerry McNamara may be slumping of late, but always dangerous in the clutch.
And a look at our starting lineups tonight for the Scarlet Knights and for the Orange. Jim Boeheim says he's never tinkered with his starting lineup so much so late in the season as he has this year. Terrence Roberts making his 4th consecutive start. A 3-guard look for Rutgers, and they're a dangerous team when they shoot the ball well, as the Irish found out last night when Notre Dame was eliminated by Rutgers in the first round. For more on the Scarlet Knights, let's go to Mark Jones.
Yeah, the Scarlet Knights shot the ball well in that first meeting you guys referred to a moment ago. They led by 18 at the break, but then Syracuse smothered them with a full-court diamond press in the second half to erase the deficit, eventually going on to the 2-point victory. Rutgers players feel to a man that it was a season-changing loss for them. They're ready to turn the beat around tonight against Syracuse. Coaches tell me the key offensively is going to be getting the shooters open, because Syracuse matches up well with their shooters on the perimeter. Therefore, the interior guys, especially Ollie Bailey, going to get into the seams, hopefully, of that zone on the interior and have a successful night, guys.
All right, Mark, thank you. Ollie Bailey, the freshman out of Chicago, had an impressive night for Gary Waters last night in the win over Notre Dame. Hey, tonight's game is available in stunning high definition here on ESPN2, as always, presented by Phillips. Looking forward to this game as we're going to round out the semi-final group here in the Big East. Already West Virginia and Villanova have advanced to meet in one semifinal, and Connecticut will play the winner of this game, the semis, tomorrow night, 7 and 9 Eastern on ESPN. Syracuse in white, Rutgers in red. And here's the Big East Player of the Year, Hakim Warrick, who, as Len mentioned, has been unstoppable his last 3 games, averaging 32 points per game.
Picking up where he left off again in an isolation situation against Byron Joines. the slender, quick Hakim Warrick finds some baseline, and on the defensive end, you look at that 2-3, you know what you're supposed to do, but that's easier said than done, as they're not passing.
And an early turnover committed by the Scarlet Knights. Warrick, 6'8", 219 pounds, a guy who decided to stay for his senior year, Len, and it turns out it was a great decision.
Well, again, it's his quickness right now against Joins' width and strength.
The game has changed, right, where quickness is more of an advantage, it seems now, than size and strength in many cases.
Well, it all depends on how the game is officiated. Size and strength, I think, has dominated this era. But there's always room for quickness, as we see again. Warrick able to turn the corner. And all he needs is to get within 6-8 feet of the basket with his elevation and his reach.
Stretch.
Call him the rubber band man because he loves to jam.
And he's done it 98 times this year. You know a guy dunks a lot when they track it in the school's media notes. 98 dunks for Warrick in 31 games, and another turnover committed by Rutgers. This is Josh Pace, the lefty. Doesn't get the bounce, and the rebound to big Byron Joins.
Well, first of all, if you're Rutgers, you don't want to face that 2-3, so you do exactly what Quincy Douby does and attack that before they get it set.
I keep looking for the springs on the bottom of Hakim Warrick's shoes, but I don't see anything there.
Well, he's just too quick for Byron Joins. He receives out here, and Joins is nowhere near him, as he just gives a little head fake and blows by him. And that's the advantage. You can post Warrick, and you can set him up out on the wing and have him beat his guy off the bounce.
And that's a difference with this new starting lineup for Jim Boeheim, as Douby's 3 misses. With Terrence Roberts starting, another big guy, Warrick in effect starts at the small forward position. For most of his career, he has been a starter at the power forward position, but Boeheim will work it back and forth between big and small lineups. Missed on the turnaround over the top of the backboard. It will go back over to Rutgers. Jim Boeheim with an even 700 wins in his career. Picked it up against Providence on Senior Day a week and a half ago. 3 Big East Tournament titles, as you can see. The last one in 1992. Somewhat surprising, given the consistent excellence of the Syracuse program over the years. Molly Bailey clubbed underneath. Meanwhile, for Rutgers, Gary Waters and the Scarlet Knights have had a very difficult season. Finished dead last in the Big East this year after some higher than that expectations. Rutgers with a win over Notre Dame last night. A little bit of dissension, a little bit of bickering, an injury to Adrian Hill, blowing some leads, and Rutgers finishing just 2-14 in the league this year.
When you take a look right here, surrounded as Craig Forth. Kind of puts a chokehold on Bailey on that one, trying not to let him get the ball up to the basket, forcing to earn it from the free throw line. But, you know, the message was sent. This is going to be a physical game down in the paint.
Weren't you impressed last night with Bailey and Joins and English, all 3 big guys who played for Rutgers?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Corinne Francis had a terrific night. Those guys.
Oh, man.
Those guys did a job, but that was a job.
He defies gravity. Hakim Warrick with all 6 early for the Orange, including a couple of dunks. I mean, the point from which he took off to begin that move was ridiculously far from the basket.
And again, I mean, it's somewhat deceiving. He does have great elevation, but it's the length of his arms, and when he fully extends, he makes up for a lot of ground that guys can't.
Douby the long cross-court pass to his backcourt mate, Ricky Shields, the senior, who had 21 points in the win last night over the Irish, brings the Knights back within 1.
In the last several possessions, they haven't been all that successful in breaking the press per se, but you keep exploring, you find a weakness, and that cross-court pass may be one of them.
Trying to force Pace to use his right hand. Pace double team finds Warrick, who's fouled, and Hakim Warrick is making some strong statements here early tonight.
Well, on that particular move, the Rutgers bench is asking for a travel, but on this one, all they can do is admire from the dotted line. And the team's first. He stays in the air. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's slow motion.
But the point is well taken. You made a great point. Elevation is part of his gift, but the extension, the reach, how far away from the basket he can be and wind up right at the rim is maybe unparalleled in college basketball right now. Look at those impressive numbers for Warrick. Big East Player of the Year, beating out such talents as Ryan Gomes, Craig Smith, Jared Dudley, Siobhan Troutman, and others.
And how about finishing with a flourish? Back-to-back career highs. 34, then 36.
And all 8 of Syracuse's points here to begin tonight. Bailey right at Craig Ford. Nice move by the freshman.
That was a strong move. He got clobbered on the last time he got the ball inside. There's no back down in Ollie Bailey.
Bailey's got 4. He had 18 against the Orange in their loss January 24th. So he obviously likes what he sees when he takes on this 2-3 zone. Pace, here's where he's trouble. A little bit strong in the back rim, gets the rebound. Lefty puts it up off the glass, and there in a nutshell, you have Josh Pace.
It's not often pretty, but it's effective, and Josh Pace just keeps plugging along. He is so important to the Syracuse attack because he provides them a third offensive option, a consistent one, and when he's on, they're very successful.
Jim Boeheim will tell you there are a lot of guys on this roster with more raw talent than Pace, but there's nobody who gets more out of their ability, and there's nobody who's been more of a pleasure to coach for the last 4 years than Josh Pace. Now McNamara uses that right arm to push off on Webb. And the baseline shot by Pace misses, but he is fouled. As we go to our first time out of the night. It's been the Hakim Warrick show here early. More on the Big East Player of the Year when we come back.
The NCAA Women's ESPN2's exclusive presentation of the 2005 Big East Tournament, presented by Aeropostale, is brought to you by 7-Up. If you want 100% natural lemon and lime flavors, the only way to go is up. And in part by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's moving forward.
You just heard that tagline for 7-Up. The only way to go is up. And that's been the way that Hakim Warrick has been going really for 4 years. Named the Big East Player of the Year this year. He has some spectacular moments.
Hakim Warrick. Bring your lunch. Oh, my.
Mr. Warrick says, no, don't bring it here.
And they come up with it, and Warrick flips it.
Bring down the house. Up and away.
It's hard to remember this now, but this was not a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school. Not all that heavily a recruited player. Had a nice start as a freshman. Took it to another level as a sophomore. And for the last 2 years, he's been one of the best players in the country.
Well, you look at overall 4 years of development into the Player of the Year, and he is the poster child for sticking around, learning your trade, and also getting a degree. And contrary to popular belief, as we saw in the replay and in the spirit of full disclosure, he does more than dunk and block shots.
Yes, he does.
He can shoot the mid-range shot. He runs the floor. He rebounds well. He's developed himself into a complete forward. And, you know, you got to admire him.
And here comes some pressure from Syracuse. As Mark Jones told you off the top of the show, Syracuse was in trouble against Rutgers, down 18 at halftime of the RAC January 24th. They pressed like crazy to open the second half and scored 17 points in the first 2.5 minutes of the second half, Len, almost entirely because of turnovers. This time, though, Rutgers knows what's coming. They break it, and Shields knocks down his second 3 of the game.
And they broke it like they practiced it. And I bet you they practiced it beginning January 25th.
They weren't expecting it on the 24th, and it cost them a ball game. But they're looking for it now. This Rutgers team playing with newfound confidence after their win over Notre Dame last night. Now Demetrius Nichols from outside. Warrick battling for the rebound. Pretty good strength for a guy who's that slender.
I told you. He does a lot of things out there that people don't expect.
He's got 10 of Syracuse's 14. Pace has the other 4. And again, Rutgers breaks the pressure. Douby for 3. Weak side rebound, Hakim Warrick.
That time he battled Big Byron Jones.
McNamara, the quick jack from beyond the NBA arc.
Well, that's always a danger. We've seen it in a number of teams this year. The ability of guys who can shoot the 3 well to pull up in a break situation. That puts a ton of pressure on the defense.
Things are clicking for the Orange at the offensive end right now.
Here on the fast break situation, look at everybody backing up. And you back up until he's in range and it's too late. And then here, battling down low. There's the bump. fighting. Even though he's got Marcus Webb, who's 6'5", he's got an advantage. But look at the reach for the ball there. That's a range rebound. As I said, there are a lot of guys who rebound and get gaudy stats by standing in one place and they go straight up. You got to go after those rebounds. That's the sign of a true rebounder in all of his glory.
A spectacular start to the night for the Big East Player of the Year, who has scored as many points as Rutgers has right now. 17-10 Syracuse, the winner to take on Connecticut in the Big East Championship semifinal tomorrow night over on ESPN. Rutgers breaks the pressure easily again. But then Shields threw it right into the lap of Darryl Watkins. McNamara. Roberts for the slam. What a find.
And it's funny because that jump shot of Gerry McNamara's on the last break that they had forced Rutgers to stay up a little bit higher and allowed the break to occur there.
Douby the miss. Here comes Warrick. Syracuse with numbers. McNamara for three.
Oh, it's getting easy now. The defenders for Rutgers don't know what to do in a break situation, whether to come out and challenge or to back up and protect against the layup. Syracuse has done it all. Take a look right here. There's the three. The defender backs up. And now you recognize he's going to shoot the three. Look at the defender step up, and he passes it off to Roberts.
Syracuse continues to press. We're going to have ourselves a track meet if this continues here tonight. And Rutgers likes to get up and down, and they've got guys like Douby and Shields who will shoot from anywhere at any time. But right now, Syracuse is shredding them at the offensive end. That made McNamara's look like a layup. Offensive rebound of the Scarlet Knights.
Well, I like the fact that Rutgers is not backing down, but I think a little more judgment is required. There's a lot of game to be played, and you don't want to shoot yourself out of it. Missed shots like that usually turn into long rebounds, which turn into fast breaks the other way.
You can get caught up in the frenzied pace, though, right? Sometimes lose that judgment.
That's right. When you're missing, though, it's about a senior. It's about somebody with some leadership skills to be able to back it up and run some kind of pattern.
This pace may be taking a toll a little bit earlier than normal. Gerry McNamara breathing deeply over on that Syracuse bench as he comes out relatively early. And freshman Josh Wright, wearing number 30 out of Utica, New York, has checked into the game for the Orange. Good ball movement here by Rutgers, but Syracuse is always letting they recover so quickly in that zone.
Well, and they know that that's one of the weaknesses, and you cover your weaknesses by effort.
15 on the shot clock.
When you throw that cross-court pass, you've got to recover. Nice job.
And a foul by Roberts. Dan Waterstrat, a freshman out of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, number 45 for Rutgers, with a great find inside to Joins, resulting in a foul.
Well, Waterstrat did what you're supposed to do. Look at him read the top guy. Here's Watkins here, so he knows he's not back there guarding. And so he turns and he finds the man right on the short corner. The most important thing when you receive below that free throw line is read the middle man. If he backs off you, you got a 12-foot jump shot. If he comes up on you and you got a guy in the short corner, you drop it off as Waterstrat did.
First foul on Roberts. Joins was a guy who weighed 320 pounds when he showed up on campus prior to last season. Got down to about 295 during last season and is now playing at a relatively svelte 270.
Well, it was about a year or so since guys like Mike Sweetney and others like him were playing. But I've got to resurrect my description, the dancing bear.
That's right. Because
Joins has got quick feet, very mobile for a guy that big.
How about that catch by Josh Pace? One of the more underappreciated players in college basketball, will score in double figures more often than not. 4 or 5 rebounds a game, 4 or 5 assists, a couple of steals. Plays up at the top of the zone.
Got great anticipation as you look at him, eyes working, focused on the ball, and the deflections are key. He's got long arms as well, and being at the top of that zone makes it difficult to pass inside.
Douby misses the jumper, joins the offensive rebound in a fresh 35. Joel Wiggin now into the game with the ball for Rutgers. Finds Webb in the corner. His three rims out. Joins, and Watkins going after it. 4, now 6 players on the floor, and Waterstrat of Rutgers is called for the foul. They are getting after it here tonight at the Garden, just a few blocks away from the ESPN zone here in Manhattan. It's been the Orange who've been in the zone so far.
Who could forget the time?
Victorious Jim Calhoun, whose team survived, beat Georgetown 66-62 tonight. Career win number 702 for Calhoun, and his Connecticut Huskies will take on the winner of this game here tonight. Rutgers and Syracuse. We'll have both semifinals for you from the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale tomorrow night on ESPN in high definition, beginning at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, West Virginia knocked off the top seed Boston College this afternoon. They'll take on Villanova, Jay Wright's Wildcats, a winner over Pittsburgh today, and then a UConn against the winner of this game. West Virginia, if you missed it earlier, had a 22-point lead at the half over Boston College, extended it to 25 early in the second half. BC got back within 4 at one point, and the Mountaineers eventually won by 6. 20th win of the season for West Virginia. Another win over a ranked team, and they've had several this year, including 2 over Pittsburgh. And John Beilein's team looks like they have locked up a bid to the dance.
A good offensive rebound. That's what Rutgers has to focus on. They've got some guys who can go to the glass. Give your shooters some confidence. Go get the misses. Eventually they'll kick in. But you got to board against this zone.
Douby, a nice look from the wing, but now Rutgers has missed its last 8 shots. They're getting some decent looks against the zone, just not knocking them down.
Right, and when they get the looks, the guys have to go get it on the glass, make a concentrated effort. I also would like to see Rutgers go back to what they did with Waterstrap and get him underneath that free throw line and let him turn and face.
Yeah, he looks pretty poised out there making decisions. A lot of young players tend to panic against this zone. He looks pretty comfortable. Roberts misses the jump hook. Loose ball to the Scarlet Knights. McNamara still out for Syracuse, getting set to check back in. Josh Wright getting some extended minutes here in the first half. Billy Edelin has not played a single minute for Syracuse in their last 3 games. Jim Boeheim says some off-the-court issues that he's got to take care of, and he is a non-factor right now for the Orange. Joel Wiggin from the wing, and now the Scarlet Knights have missed their last 9. The long rebound bounces out of bounds to the Orange.
And that's the trap. I mean, Joel Wiggin should understand. He's played against this before. But the trap against, obviously the trap with the 2-3 zone that they suck you into is they invite you to take those long shots.
Teams take more threes against Syracuse than any other team in the Big East.
And really the way you beat it is to make it implode, to go inside, then out.
McNamara has returned. Louis McCroskey, number 42, a sophomore into the game as well. He'll get a look on the feed for McNamara, and the Orange are red hot early tonight.
They're definitely clicking. We talked about at the beginning of the telecast how Syracuse needed more offensive diversity. Well, there are a lot of guys putting the ball in the basket today.
We've got 3 sophomores in the game right now for Jim Boeheim. Terrence Roberts, Darrell Watkins, Louis McCroskey. We've seen Nichols already as well.
And how often have we heard Jim say they go as far as the sophomores will take them?
Yep. Now Rutgers is forced to use a timeout after that trap in the corner. Well, Jim Boeheim knows his team is going to the NCAA tournament at 1 of 6, you would think, who are locks to go after what West Virginia has done the last couple of days here. That leaves the question of Notre Dame, who lost last night to Rutgers, and Georgetown, who just lost to Connecticut. What their fate is yet to be decided, and of course, Len, it depends so much on what's happening elsewhere in the country over the next few days.
Well, before this game, I had a nice short conversation with the commissioner, Mike Tranghese, and Mike believes, again, that Notre Dame's name will still be up on the board, but there's just going to be a lot of teams like Notre Dame with an awful lot of warts. And it's going to come down to, obviously, you know, if some people get upset and, you know, have to create a situation where someone who would normally get an automatic bid will now have to be considered for at-large and widen and broaden the field. You know, the broader that field, the more the teams with the warts are going to be pushed down.
The Irish were left on the outside looking in last year on Selection Sunday, wound up in the NIT. Georgetown hasn't been to the NCAA tournament since 2001. Perhaps they've got a shot this year. Villanova's going to the tournament for the first time in 6 years, and assuming West Virginia goes, they're going to the tournament for the first time in 7 years. And now Bob Donato's got a foul call, I believe, on Gerry McNamara. And Jim Boeheim is all over Donato. That's the second foul on McNamara.
Well, most people in Madison Square Garden thought it was a travel, but it looked kind of odd for him to kind of drag across that lane without somebody giving him a little bit of help.
And McNamara, of course, one of the more indispensable members of the Syracuse team, especially with Edelin basically not playing. McNamara doesn't have much of a chance to get a rest. Basket and the foul now for the Scarlet Knights as Joel Wiggin banks it in.
Well, somebody got the memo that you can dribble and beat the gaps. You move the ball side to side, in and out. That extends the defense. Then you find some gaps. Right there, you can see it. It's almost like the sea parted there. And Wiggin found an opening.
Foul on Daryl Watkins, his first. So a big change here in the last 30 seconds or so. Second foul on McNamara, then a three-point play for Rutgers, and they're back within a dozen after Wiggin, his first field goal, or their first field goal in more than 6 minutes, makes it a 12-point game. And now Eddie Corbett's got a call, and this one is going to go on Wiggin. I think Gary Waters is probably saying, what was that, a makeup call? Because he didn't see that one, just like Boeheim didn't see the one on McNamara. Hey, tomorrow afternoon, ESPN2's coverage of Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues out of the ACC tournament. Clemson, after a win over Maryland today, taking on number 2 North Carolina. And then a game with all kinds of bubble implications, Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. Terrence Roberts slamming it home again, his second dunk of the night.
Now you see why Terrence Roberts is starting. He's been very aggressive over the last several games.
Waterstrat finds Marquise Webb, who misses the three. And fourth, the senior, the academic All-American, brings down the rebound for the Orange. McCroskey. And Roberts in there looking for the rebound. And the ball out of bounds over to Rutgers. 7:58 to go here in the first half. A frustrated look on the face of Gary Waters with the Scarlet Knights trailing by 14. Jim Boeheim wants some clarification from the officials. What the call was. We'll sort it out when we come back. Fans of Big East basketball have seen that expression on the face of Jim Boeheim a time or two over the years. And was that a called timeout by Syracuse or not? Ed Corbett, I believe, is telling Jim Boeheim that the ball went over the back of the backboard, therefore turning it over to Rutgers. In which case, we've got immediate timeout. Syracuse by 14 as we step aside. Back here in New York, Championship Week presented by 7-Up. Syracuse leading Rutgers by 14. A big change from their regular season meeting January 24th at the Rack and Piscataway when Rutgers took an 18-point lead to halftime, only to see the Orange press and trap and force them into so many turnovers in the second half that Syracuse came all the way back from what at its worst was a 20-point deficit, the biggest comeback under Jim Boeheim. It was Terrence Roberts with a three-point play near the end of the game to give Syracuse the lead, and then Quincy Douby led. As Syracuse missed an assignment, Douby had a wide-open three that would have won it for Rutgers, and it went halfway down and rimmed out as Syracuse escaped with a wild 86-84 win.
And we alluded to it before. I bet you Rutgers, once they were surprised by that pressure, Gary Waters vowed never to be surprised again. And today, Syracuse called it off because it just seems as though Rutgers has the combination.
Joel Wiggin with a bank shot. He's now got 5. And Rutgers within a dozen. Roberts playing with a lot of confidence these days. Followed his own miss, got the offensive rebound, and draws the foul as he's just knocking bodies all over the place right now.
Well, Terrence Roberts has the potential to be very, very good in this league. Averaging 11 points, 5 rebounds over the last 3 games. He came into this game making 12 of his last 19 field goal attempts. It's because, he attacks the basket with a vengeance.
Could have gotten called for an offensive foul right there, too. English just got run over. But Roberts being the aggressor more often than not.
There you go.
Absolutely. I've hung around with you long enough. I'm starting to anticipate some of your teaching tools here. Probably doesn't make Jimmy English feel any better as he picks up the foul and goes to the bench. He was just minding his own business when he got knocked down. Ooh, wow. I'm not sure I've ever seen a free throw missed by that much. No disrespect to Roberts. That was 4 feet short.
Well, that's what happens sometimes when you're aiming and you're not shooting. And he's smiling about it. Why not? Everybody else is laughing.
I don't know if Jim Boeheim is. They're the worst free throw shooting team in the Big East, and it's cost them at times. Wiggin, nice find. Ricky Shields. And another offensive rebound for the Scarlet Knights. Now Douby somehow got that to go in. He's asking for a foul, and I think he's got a case.
Oh, absolutely.
He kind of had to re-grab that ball before he shot it away. Douby and Shields at times with no conscience, right? And they'll just put it up from anywhere if they're feeling it.
Well, and you know they're such streak shooters. If you're a coach, you don't want to take that confidence away. You don't want any hesitation whatsoever. That indecisiveness creates slumps.
What a drive by Warrick. I was just getting ready to say he scored 10 early points and had been quiet since, but quiet no more. A dozen for Warrick as we go to Mark Jones.
Yeah, guys, I spoke with Hakim Warrick's mother just a few moments ago, Queen Warrick, and she says that her son's best decision next to attending Syracuse was deciding to go back to Syracuse for his senior season. Said that a couple schools recruited him, but Syracuse was always his #1 choice, and wasn't happy where he was going to go in the NBA draft, not projected in the top 10, so he came back to school, got his degree, serving a local internship as part of his degree requirement. I asked her, what's the one thing about your son that people would be surprised to know? She said, he's got a great jump shot. Spoken like a true former high school basketball player, guys.
All right, Jonesy, thanks. I thought she was going to say he's afraid of heights. I guess you get over that pretty quickly with his vertical. But one of the stories goes that reportedly he was being recruited very hard by Providence. Syracuse was after Julius Hodge. As Warrick's going to show some more of his skills. Crowd wants an intentional foul.
Now that was a play on the ball. That was a play on the ball. The ball was down low and went after it. Mitchell did a good job of restraint. Here he is going to the basket. Watch the hand go towards the ball. And then he tries to hold him, it looks like.
He'll have 2 shots.
Well, you know, that's a salesman right there.
Second foul on Jones, and Warrick back to the line. To finish the story, Syracuse was after Julius Hodge, and when Hodge decided to go to North Carolina State, all of a sudden Syracuse had to try to find somebody, and they hadn't really been going after Warrick all that hard. And then they turned their attention to Warrick and convinced him to come to Syracuse, and how the landscape of the Big East has changed as a result of that. Turned into one of the best players that the Big East has ever seen in its 26-year history.
Didn't Ryan Gomes wind up at Providence?
That's right. So everybody got what they wanted, right?
Right.
Everybody's happy in the end. Wiggin penetrates, a little bit short. Wiggin again, and Warrick comes up with it. The Orange looking to run. Here's McNamara. Why not? Shields with a rebound. Rutgers looking to run. Wiggins got a trailer, and Bailey spun right into McNamara, and there's an offensive foul.
Well, first of all, it's the hustle of Gerry McNamara. After he misses a shot, look how quickly he gets back in the paint, and that was a terrible call. That is a terrible call. Look at McNamara lean.
Oh, wow.
No way. No way that was a charge.
I think Syracuse has gotten the benefit of a few calls here tonight. When Inglis got knocked down by Roberts a little bit earlier, Bailey got clubbed early in the game. You were talking about it. Looks like the breaks are going the Orange's way right now.
Well, let me say this. I mean, the officials, for the most part, are doing a pretty good job. And I say it's a terrible call because that was an easy one to make. You can tell a guy's leaning. It's not easy to bang, bang.
Hakim Warrick over the back, and he is called for the foul. His first.
His first.
15-point lead for the Orange. This is championship week presented by 7-Up. We're here at Madison Square Garden in New York City. A big house in attendance here tonight, along with Len Elmore and Mark Jones. I'm Dan Schulman. Fourth and final quarterfinal from the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Syracuse in white, Rutgers in red. The winner to face Connecticut tomorrow night on ESPN in high def. The first semifinal tomorrow night at 7 Eastern, also on ESPN HD, will be West Virginia against Villanova. We talked a lot about the Mountaineers tonight. What about Jay Wright's Wildcats and the run that they've been on the last couple of months?
Well, I'll tell you, Villanova with that 3-guard offense has presented so many problems. And then you add Curtis Sumter in the mix as one of the toughest matchups on the front line in the conference. And, you know, you got the makings of a team that can go a long, long way, not only in this championship, but in the NCAA tournament. And I think it's going to be pretty interesting as we see Hakim Warrick do what he does. It's going to be pretty interesting in the matchup. The 3 guards able to match up with the West Virginia spread-type offense and apply pressure. That's what they did today against Pittsburgh. They just got up and out-quicked them on both ends of the floor.
Ricky Shields misses the jumper. Rebound Warrick, who's got 17 already, Len.
Somebody's going to stop the ball.
And they do, but they commit the foul to do it. Pete Moore, the sports information director for Syracuse, just informing us that with that 17-point tonight from Warrick, he becomes just the 5th player in Syracuse history to score 2,000 points in his career. Lawrence Moten, Derek Coleman, John Wallace, Sherman Douglas, and Hakim Warrick. That's pretty good company. Bob Donato, one of the officials over at the scorers table, trying to sort something out.
Game clock is reset to 4 minutes, 2 seconds.
Game clock has been reset to 4:02.
Gerry McNamara is at the line.
Jim Boeheim has coached a lot of special players in his 29 years at Syracuse, but you and I had a chance to talk to him on senior day against Providence a week and a half ago. And it's not just Warrick. The senior class of Warrick, Josh Pace, and Craig Ford. He says this group has been as special and rewarding and enjoyable to coach as any group that he's had in his time in Syracuse.
And he said something like that about Carmelo Anthony, who only stayed for 1 year. But the difference is these young men made a commitment to development. You know, they made a commitment to get their degrees. You talk about Craig Ford, who was the scholar athlete of the year in the Big East. You know, Josh Pace, these guys have actually done a terrific job in being citizens for Syracuse as well, and good representatives of the university. So, you know, those are the things that make a coach feel good as you watch young men grow over a 4-year period.
Ford, very active in the community, working with children. He's an education major, works with special needs children, volunteers at schools, and has a grade point average of almost 3.9.
So that turnover was created by the fact that Joins didn't read the back guy. Everybody was laid back. He's got to take that jumper.
Roberts stepped out of bounds and turns it over to Rutgers. A 19-point lead for Syracuse as Hakim Warrick has been the star here tonight.
I can't get the special part out of my head. Can't get the special part out of my head.
That's an interesting question. I gotta believe that because of the proximity of stores to New York, this is going to be mostly a Husky house. There's a lot of orange in the building here tonight, but I think UConn will have the upper hand in terms of fan support tonight.
Yeah, and that's always been the case. Unfortunately, upstate New York stays upstate New York. But there's a good orange representation here.
I think, too, that for that first semifinal, I think Villanova's going to have a lot of fans in the house. Their fans are starting to ride the wave and really enjoy this great run that the Wildcats have been on over the last couple of months. Well, as Scott and Doug mentioned, we got a great-looking night of basketball coming your way tomorrow night. The Big East Championship semifinals presented by Aeropostale. The West Virginia Mountaineers, who beat Boston College, the top seed today, will take on Villanova. Then the winner of this game against UConn. If you have not seen West Virginia, a very well-coached team, John Beilein, an outstanding coach, McNamara, a deep three, and he got fouled and will shoot 3 free throws. A fundamentally sound team, and with a guy in Kevin Pitsnagel, who is as unique a player as there is in the Big East, and just a chance to watch a guy named Pitsnagel play basketball is worth tuning in for in itself, don't you think?
And as a play-by-play man, to keep pronouncing his name correctly time after time after time. But I will say this. You know, Villanova, I mentioned it before, they've got the quickness and the willingness to go out on the floor and play people, and they're very disruptive. Throw you out of your schemes, and then you've got to improvise, and West Virginia may not be the best at being improvisational. But we'll see. I mean, they're on a mission right now, and they've got the habit of winning, and that accounts for a lot.
Villanova had that big win that I think everybody remembers back in January against Kansas, and they've played extremely well since then. The only loss they've had in their last 11 games was to Syracuse, who beat them handily. Syracuse beating Rutgers handily here tonight. Try to advance to a semifinal matchup against UConn. Deep three by Quincy Douby.
Well, Rutgers is going to get those shots, as I mentioned before. The zone invites you to take them, and Rutgers very well may go on a hot streak because this is a type of team that the shooting becomes contagious, particularly between Douby and Shields. It's on the defensive end that they've got to make their stand, and right now, their defense is a sieve.
Well put there. That last basket by Demetrius Nichols, a guy that Jim Boeheim had some really high hopes for coming into this season, but he's not shot the ball very well, and his confidence has waned as a result. Marquise Webb looking for the ball underneath, finds it, Misses the short one from inside. Rebound Watkins. Pace finds McNamara. McNamara going all the way, and it's blocked by Douby, but Watkins is there to clean up the mess.
Again, it's all about defense and rebounding. A pretty good defensive play to stop McNamara, but no one underneath to corral that ball. It looks as though Rutgers kind of used all their energy last night.
English is fouled underneath. All 4 Syracuse sophomores have scored here in the first half of this game. Jim Boeheim is getting a lot of value out of a lot of players here tonight.
And that's what you need to do. I mean, if you're going to go on that three-night run, you've got to be able to rest your best players and go to your bench early. I mean, this is a luxury right now to have this kind of lead and be able to rest key guys.
It's been said many times, no team has ever won 4 games in a row to win the Big East Championship. West Virginia will try to do that. They had to play on day 1, beat Providence, then beat Boston College. Villanova got a bye, Connecticut got a bye, and of course Syracuse with a big lead here in this game. They got a bye as well. Nichols for 3. Rattles out, a rebound Pace. Nobody stops him, so he gets into the paint, misses the short one, joins the rebound for Rutgers.
Again, you want to gain some momentum. You got a minute left. Maybe 1 or 2 stops depending on the number of possessions and hit some baskets. At least feel good about yourself and your chances going into the locker room and build on it.
Webb a miss. Contact underneath. No call. McNamara the rebound for the Orange. Syracuse has really extended the top part of that zone because of the deep range of Douby and Shields.
But just enough to get a hand in their face, but not enough to get beaten off the bounce.
Watkins lost the handle.
Up the other way. It's got to go the other way.
Did have nice rotation on it. And a bump's going to be called on Jimmy Inglis.
The Rutgers foul is charged to Quincy Douby. His second.
2 free throws now for Gerry McNamara. They actually gave that foul to Douby is what they announced.
Actually, that was a lesson for Darryl Watkins. He's out there at the top of the key. He's great around the basket, but he shouldn't be shooting out there. So
now they correct what was said. The foul did go on Jimmy Inglis. So McNamara, one of the best free throw shooters around, goes to the line. 86% from the line this year. That's down from his career numbers. The guy who's battled a sprained ankle on a couple of occasions this year, averaging 35 minutes per game, and in conference play up around 37 or 38 minutes per game. And again, he's got his running mate in Hakim Warrick. But you wonder how different things could be for Syracuse. They're a very good team as it is, but how different things could be if Billy Edelin were a factor. Right now, Warrick and McNamara, along with Pace, having to shoulder so much of the load because Edelin's not playing.
Yeah, Edelin is one of those mysteries, I think, for Jim Boeheim, trying to find a way to get him back in the program.
He practices, he's with the team, but he's not playing right now because of some unspecified off-the-court issues. Boy, that's right with the ball.
Rutgers looks like they used it all up from yesterday, but they're not even close to a lot of these shots.
Offensive foul on Wright. Josh, look at the clock, says Jim Boeheim. You got 20 seconds left in the half.
Hold it!
Retort with me, coach. Look at the score. We're up 25.
No, when you're a freshman and he's got 700 wins, there's no retort. There's yes, sir.
Well, he said that to himself. Why can't I play? Well, 25.
Syracuse putting a little pressure on, trying to complicate things here for the Knights in the last 15 seconds. Down to 5, and a couple of guys way out on Shields, 30 feet from the basket. Douby from the corner. And the 3 misses as Syracuse will take a massive 25-point lead into halftime thanks to a half-ending 18-3 run. It began as the Hakim Warrick show here tonight, the Big East Player of the Year, skying over everybody time after time. He had 17 first-half points. Syracuse up big.
All right, Dan, coming up.
Set for the second half here in this quarterfinal matchup of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Syracuse on the strength of some great play by Hakim Warrick, up 25 on Rutgers. Feeling no pressure here tonight as they try to advance to the semis.
I can't get this pressure pouring out of my head. pressure pouring out of my head.
Well, when you got the skills Hakim Warrick does, there's no such thing as pressure for the Big East Player of the Year. Welcome back to New York City. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore with you. We told you off the top of the show, Syracuse just 4-5 in their last 9 games. Although all 5 losses were to ranked teams, they look like they're playing about as well as they can play so far here tonight.
Well, they've been able to get the ball anywhere they wanted to. They're turning Rutgers over. 8 turnovers. The Syracuse has got 9 points. Fast break is working for Syracuse. 12-0, and points in the paint, 16-6. They're getting the ball inside. They're able to shoot shots outside. They're getting their fast break going. And if you're Rutgers, the game comes down to 2 fundamental things. You got to put the ball in the basket, and you got to play some defense.
And right now they're having trouble doing both of those things. Down 25 as we start the second half. Nice feed to Joins inside. Triple teamed. The shot deflected. It appears, and Fourth comes down with the rebound.
And that was probably the best sequence, except for one early with Waterstrat. He got the ball at the top of the free throw line in the first half. That was the best sequence against that 2-3 zone that Rutgers has run.
Warrick in this. Early in the second half, earlier today of the West Virginia-BC game, West Virginia had this exact same lead, 47-22. And BC got it down to 4 points, although West Virginia eventually won by 6. Can Rutgers mount the same comeback? Who knows? Let's find out. What do you have, Mark Jones?
Yeah, maybe. Gary Waters told me at halftime they're going to have to play better interior defense. Said they were too concerned with Gerry McNamara on the perimeter, subsequently giving up too much, quote, in their gut. So they're going to try and shore up their interior defense, guys. Back to you.
Hakim Warrick ran roughshod through their gut, especially in the first 5 minutes of the game. Warrick with 17 first-half points as Rutgers turns it over. Warrick becoming just the 5th Syracuse player in their storied history to score 2,000 points in his career.
Well, I kind of buy into what Gary Waters was saying with regard to the interior defense. I mean, you have a choice. You got to guard Warrick, who's shooting 55% from the field, or you're looking at McNamara shooting 37% from the field. I mean, you know he can go on hot streaks, but you take your chances with the long-range shooter. You cannot give up the points in the paint.
Joins commits the foul, his 3rd. McNamara with a nice first half as well. 13 points, hit a couple of threes, and made all 7 of his free throws.
Much better defense that time, following the ball, getting a hand deflect.
Douby 1-on-2, scores right over McNamara.
Well, you know, if you're going to come back, you got to take some of those risks right there. That was a relatively calculated risk, as Douby had guys running with him the rebound. It wasn't an advantage break, but Douby made it an advantage.
And a timeout taken by Jim Boeheim. Unhappy with the first couple of minutes here in the second half, in spite of his comfortable, what appears to be a comfortable 23-point lead. Quincy Douby with a bucket to open up the second half of the Scarlet Knights, still down big.
The NCAA Women's Basketball Championship on ESPN begins March 19th.
Reintroducing the Kia Sportage. The SUV with everything is now for everyone.
Don't take it for granted, man.
When it comes to shipping, talk is cheap. Mistakes aren't. Ron's got the horsepower. They've got the planes, the technology. Truth is, I don't care how they do it. I just care that my packages get there on time. Hey, all I ask for is perfection. Other than that, I'm pretty easy.
UPS delivers more packages on time than anyone. UPS, what can Brown do for you?
Panasonic Toughbook PC is powered with Intel Centrino mobile technology. Panasonic, ideas for life.
are riding motors. And then there's the Edge cutting system. Only John Deere gives you the edge. With your John Deere dealer behind you and dependability beneath you, you'll always have a John Deere yard to look forward to. Nothing runs like a Deere. Now get a free cart with select John Deere tractors.
Hakim Warrick, the Big East Player of the Year, has had some special moments tonight, including 2 dunks, giving him 99 on the season. He talks about the impact the dunk has on him.
It's only worth 2 points, but I think it's worth a lot more because there's a lot of things, like the fans getting into it, teammates getting excited, and the other team can get a little intimidated as well, I think. And that's why I try to go out there and always try to attack the rim and make a big play.
And you can see that, Len, from the moment the game began tonight. Both of his dunks tonight, this is not an official statistic tracked by the NCAA, but we're having fun with it. Both of his dunks were in the first 2 minutes of the game tonight.
Yeah, it certainly did set a tone, and I agree, attacking that rim makes it a lot more difficult for guys to stop. I only wish when I played in the 70s that we could have dunked.
You'd have been the Warrick of your time?
I didn't say that. I just said I wish we could have dunked. We had a lot of guys, though. You remember David Thompson, original Luke Skywalker, and Bill Walton, and, guys like that. Me too.
Now, there are probably some kids out there saying, what does he mean, I wish we could have dunked? Dunking was not allowed in the rules back then.
Right, it was changed, I believe, in the year Lou Alcindor came to UCLA.
Like he needed that.
Well, I mean, that's really what it was. It was designed to be more of an equalizer.
Or taken away. That's when it was taken away.
Right, it was taken away.
When was it reinstated?
I don't know. I was gone. I didn't care.
And as Hakim Warrick says, it only counts as 2 points, but did you feel that, or do you feel, as a big guy, if the big guy gets posterized, if he gets dunked on, is that worth more than 2 points? Does that intimidate the defense?
Oh, that depends on the guy. I know if somebody dunked on me, I'm getting angry, and I dare say, without maliciously hurting anybody, you weren't dunking on me again. Other guys would back away.
Warrick tries to go up and under. Too many bodies. Roberts with 2 more. Terrence Roberts now with 6. And looks like he intends on staying in that starting lineup for a while, making his 4th consecutive start.
Well, he's got so much energy. You watch him play. I mean, he's just a bundle of movement. And you add to that his athleticism. You like to see a guy on the floor. You talk about bringing your teammates and lifting them up. You see a guy like that hustle. He's always on the floor. He's always around the board. Sacrificing his body. Shoot, that's the kind of thing that makes me want to play.
You and I saw him go for 14 points and 10 rebounds against Providence about a week and a half ago. Pace exploring, finds Roberts again. There's that energy, that big active body you talked about. Nice cut on the baseline, but he couldn't handle the pass. Hey, Jim Boeheim with a smile, but you know what? I'm guessing that's a look at an official. That's kind of a wry smile. I don't think that's a joyful smile.
Of course not, because you look at him now. He's got that sardonic smile, a Boeheim kind of frown.
700 wins for the likely future Hall of Famer. Another 3 for Gerry McNamara, Syracuse's all-time leader in threes. He's got 3 of them in tonight's game and 288 threes in his career, and he's got another year coming.
Well, I think this is a good sign, obviously. Gerry McNamara shooting a much better percentage. He's not forcing shots. We were at the Boston College game where he shot 5 for 21. And that was a horrific shooting night for him. And it really wore him out. He's able to get a little rest here and there. He has his legs. In a game like this, as it's going so far, he can pick his spots. But what it does, it gives him a little more confidence as you get further into this championship. They're going to need some of his clutch jumpers, and he's going to need his legs in order to perform.
That was a 3 from Marquise Webb for Rutgers. Now McNamara, the handoff to 4th. And it'll be out of bounds. It will stay with the Orange as we step aside. We've given a lot of publicity tonight to Warrick inside. How about his running mate, McNamara outside? It's all Orange here in the Garden. All right, Scott, thank you very much. Another Conference USA game earlier tonight. UAB over DePaul, 59-56. So DePaul's going to have to sit and wait for Selection Sunday to see if they get a bid. Texas A&M lost to Kansas State today. That could crush their slim hopes. We talked a lot about Notre Dame and Georgetown. Iowa State with a win today. Maryland lost to Clemson, meaning 3 losses in one season to the Tigers. That would appear to damage their hopes significantly, you would think. McNamara, another 3. Syracuse knows they're in, obviously. They've had another terrific season. They are 24-6. And they know they're going to the big dance. Right now, it's about the Big East Tournament and then about seeding heading into the NCAA Tournament. And the Orange, who were beaten soundly by 18 by Connecticut on Saturday. Looks like they'll get another crack at the Huskies tomorrow night in the second semifinal here from the Garden. Ollie Bailey with a nice turnaround for the Scarlet Knights.
And that's going to be another test of Connecticut's ability to handle pressure, to handle the 2-3 zone, to make good decisions in passing the ball. And for Syracuse, they're just going to have to be able to keep UConn off the glass. I mean, that's really where the damage is done in this 2-3 zone. Tremendous offensive rebounding team are the Huskies.
Warrick, a nice drive, and misses the shot. Connecticut also beat Syracuse earlier in the season up at the Carrier Dome. So they've already beaten the Orange twice this year. And again on Saturday, it was a thumping. 18 points, 88-70. This is a thumping here tonight. The Orange up 25 on Rutgers after the Scarlet Knights upset Notre Dame last night. Bailey again. Roberts got a finger on it, and it wound up in the hands of Ford, the senior. McNamara the lob. Not even Hakim Warrick could come down with that.
I don't think they had the good eye contact as they normally do.
And look at what the 2 stars for Syracuse have done here tonight. As good an inside-outside combination as there is in college basketball. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You certainly have to look at J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams at Duke, and you got to look at Salim Stoudemire and Channing Frye at Arizona, and there are others as well. But not only are McNamara and Warrick supremely talented and very tough, but they've been together now for 3 years, Len. McNamara's a junior, Warrick's a senior. They both won a national championship together. They're not going to encounter anything they haven't encountered before.
And that's what I mentioned when I said they didn't have that eye contact. Sometimes, you know, there's that extrasensory connection between the two of them that they know where the other guy is at any given point on the floor because they have played together so well. And there is no substitute for that type of cohesiveness, that type of chemistry.
There aren't many teams, when you add in the experience that Pace has and that Forth has, who can bring back 4 starters from a team that won a national championship 2 years ago. Their experience is not to be underestimated or undervalued. Right now they get a little bit younger as Nichols and McCroskey come in.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Terrence Roberts becomes the next Hakim Warrick for this particular team, and if Gerry McNamara can play off him as well as he has Warrick the rest of the remainder of his career.
Nichols with nobody on him steps into the jump shot. Watkins with a rebound, and he's fouled. And Jim Boeheim's got to be pretty pleased with his sophomore class here tonight. They're all doing some positive things.
I mean, it's a good experience. This goes back to what we talked about as far as Jim Calhoun's take on conference tournaments. That is a tremendous preparation tool for the NCAA tournament. There's pressure here. You know, there's a need to perform a lot in, you know, not so much consecutive nights, but I'll play a lot of games in a few number of nights. And the bottom line is that you can do it here if you know you're in the tournament particularly. This is where you play it out. So when you get to the real thing, it's not a surprise, especially for these young guys.
Well, getting back to Jim Boeheim's comment that he doesn't think he's ever tinkered with his starting lineup as Douby knocks down the 3. He's still not experimenting, but making changes, fine-tuning. He feels the last couple of regular season games of the Big East Tournament are of vital importance to his team because they haven't yet peaked. He still feels the next few days are very important in order for them to peak at the right time, which is beginning of the NCAA tournament.
Well, I mean, you look back at the national championship team that Syracuse had. You know, they got blown out by Connecticut. Came back, regrouped, understood the mistakes that they made, and wound up winning the big one. Not to say that this isn't the big one.
Right.
Don't anybody
the bigger one. The biggest one.
That's right, the biggest one.
Douby staring down official Ed Corbett, asking for a foul call. Felt he was bumped by McNamara on that three-point attempt. Gerry Waters looking on with some concern. Douby just 4 for 14 from outside. Their offense on many nights begins and ends with Shields and Douby. And tonight they're not shooting the ball particularly well. McNamara great at deflection. Just gets his hands in there as much as anything. Talk about the length of these Syracuse players in the zone. McNamara doesn't have it, but he's still right in the middle of everything.
Well, he's got great anticipation. You watch him at the top. When the ball goes opposite, he's always looking for that passing lane and trying to anticipate and get in the middle of that lane.
Joins with a nice rebound. Right back up strong, and the foul committed by Darrell Watkins.
And his teammates appreciate it. You know, they may be out of this as far as the score is concerned, but I think they're still trying to become a tighter-knit group. And you look at the bench after he fell, they're all clapping their hands and they're giving him encouragement.
So Joins to the line. That last rebound for him was his 10th of the night. For Rutgers, they are going to lose Ricky Shields and Joel Wiggin. They've got a 4-deep group of recruits coming in. 3 of them from the state of New Jersey, and all fairly highly thought of, so they think they've got a base and that there's nowhere to go but up. And when you finish last in your league, there is nowhere to go but up. And let's not forget, the league's going to get bigger and deeper and probably tougher next year with the addition of the likes of Louisville, Cincinnati, Marquette, and DePaul.
I'll say. Oh, man.
And this year we're sitting here talking about could the Big East get 7 or conceivably 8 into the NCAA tournament out of a league of 12. Next year with 16, just because of the sheer number of teams, you may be looking at the league aspiring to get 9 or 10 teams into the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah, that ceiling is going to be broken. That's going to be broken very soon.
No league has ever gotten more than 7 in. That's been done a number of times, including the Big East once back in '91. Pass thrown away. It'll stay with the Rutgers. Just over 12 minutes to go. A 20-point lead for Syracuse as the Orange looking like a very solid bet to advance to a semifinal tomorrow night against UConn. Bailey cannot finish, although he makes another good, strong move. He's going to be a good player in this league.
I mean, I like him. I like his tenacity inside. And when he gets the ball and he starts to the basket, you know that he's going to get there somehow. He'll go by you or go through you.
Watkins looking down low for Warrick. Now Nichols left open. Just can't find the range on the outside shot. McNamara is really the only consistent, legitimate threat from the perimeter for Syracuse. You heard somebody hollering for a timeout, and Ed Corbett will give it to the Rutgers bench.
I mean, that's a good point, Dan. You think about Syracuse as being a big-time three-point shooting team. They only average a little less than 5 3-pointers per game, by comparison to some of the gaudy guys with 7.
Well, then let's look back to what's already happened here at MSG today. West Virginia in the early game at noon bolted out to a 22-point halftime lead over Boston College and hung on to win by 6. Randy Foy, Curtis Sumter, Allen Ray, and the rest of the high-flying Cats took care of Pittsburgh to knock them out. And then Rudy Gay and company, Connecticut, hanging on. It wasn't much of a laugher for Jim Calhoun most of the night, that's for sure, as they won by 4. Mike Yancey, a career-high 21. The Mountaineers, with their 20th win of the season, roll into the semis against Villanova. Randy Foy, Curtis Sumter, Allen Ray. If you haven't seen the Wildcats, they're talented, they're quick, they're exciting, they're playing great defense right now. Connecticut with a 4-point win over Georgetown in the first of the nighttime quarters, and it sure looks like a UConn-Syracuse semifinal with Villanova and West Virginia meeting on the other side.
You said the operative word when it comes to Villanova: quick defensive disruption.
Another 3 for Quincy Douby, his 3rd of the night. And we talked about how quick they are offensively, and Foy and Ray can take you off the dribble. But it really, in watching that Pittsburgh game today, illustrated it so clearly how good a defensive team Villanova has become.
Yeah, and it was their quickness. They took spots away from Pittsburgh.
19 and now for Warrick. Those are his first 2 points of the second half.
position so important a part of this game. And if you can beat your man to the spot, either on offense or defense, you've done most of your job.
10th rebound for Warrick, a double-double for him tonight. As we near the midway point of the second half, Syracuse in command. Good strong move by Warrick, and he's fouled. He'll shoot some free throws when we come back. Now the high riser Hakim Warrick has been the story here in the big city tonight. The Orange looking to advance to the semis.
Quarterfinal matchup. The winner there gets Nevada or Boise State. Now we send you back to the Garden. Rutgers and Syracuse. Stan Shulman.
And Ricky Shields being defended way out of the corner by Nichols. Long cross-court pass as Rutgers needs to take and make a lot of threes in a hurry if they're going to get back into this. That's a deep three that's off for Shields. And another rebound for Warrick, having a huge night tonight. That's 11 rebounds to go with 20 points. They get 21 points tonight. Quarterfinal matchup here, the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale from Madison Square Garden in New York City with Len Elmore and Mark Jones. I'm Dan Shulman, and it's been all Syracuse from the opening moments of the game. It's been all Hakim Warrick for much of the night, as Syracuse is 8.5 minutes away from advancing to tomorrow night's second semifinal against Connecticut. Villanova to meet West Virginia in the first. Both semis can be seen on ESPN in high definition tomorrow night.
Well, you talk about Hakim Warrick, and again, he set the tone early, a couple of dunks inside. You know, rebounding, running the floor. Obviously, that established an opportunity for the outside, the perimeter game to get going, and Gerry McNamara took full advantage. Rutgers never really solving the 2-3 zone. They had their moments, but they continued to turn the ball over, and that turned into Syracuse fast breaks.
McNamara with some nice penetration, but turned it over on the pass, and back come the Scarlet Knights, led by Douby, the talented sophomore, with a tough pull-up three in transition. Got hit on the back of the head and will shoot 3 free throws.
And you know what? He never really lost his rhythm when he shot that ball. He missed it. But a lot of guys would have been flinching because they knew somebody was coming up from behind, and that somebody was Hakim Warrick.
I was flinching just sitting here over at the table because you had to know somebody was in the vicinity.
You know, watch Douby come down and just goes up and shoots his normal jump shot. Doesn't flinch at all. And knowing you can hear footsteps behind him.
Douby and Shields both went through a pretty extended shooting slump midway through the conference season, and that's when Rutgers' fortunes really went south. They started the year well. They won at Charlotte in their opening game, and Charlotte's going to the tournament. And then they beat St. Mary's out of the West Coast Conference, and in all likelihood, the Gales are going to the tournament. But in conference play, it's been a disaster for Rutgers, 2-14, finishing dead last in the Big East. Krosky, a little bit strong in the three. I would imagine at some point Jim Boeheim would love to give, especially McNamara, a couple of minutes of a breather, because there's another game to be played tomorrow night, and if things go well for Syracuse, another game the night after that. Big ball. And it'll be Rutgers ball when we come back. Syracuse leading by 19. All smiles for the Orange here tonight at the Garden. 7.5 minutes away from a date with UConn in the semis. Back here at Madison Square Garden in New York, along with Len Elmore and Mark Jones, I'm Dan Shulman. This is Championship Week presented by 7-Up, continuing coverage of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, and it's time for the semifinals tomorrow night, beginning at 7 Eastern in ESPN HD. It'll be the West Virginia Mountaineers, who knocked off the top seed Boston College today, taking on Villanova, and then the night game, Connecticut, looking more and more like it'll be against Syracuse, with the Orange holding a big 19-point lead. As mentioned a little bit earlier, Connecticut has defeated Syracuse twice this year, beat them by 8 up at the Carrier Dome in early February, and then really beat them soundly on Saturday, 88-70. Marcus Williams, a double-double. Charlie Villanueva had a very big game, so UConn will do, or will try to do, what many say is very difficult to do, beat the same team 3 times in one season. Although I have to point out, Clemson did it to Maryland today. Of course, you don't need to respond. I have to point that.
But I'll tell you what, the one thing that Connecticut does, you know, Gerry McNamara is shooting about 8 for 36. 8 for 34
against
from the field against UConn, and they've been able to take him out of the game utilizing their quickness, and they limit Hakim Warrick. So, I mean, they take the big guns away from Syracuse and, you know, really puts them at risk of getting blown out. Although Syracuse finds a way to tighten it up. But it's that and the rebounding. Good defensive rebounding, controlling that tempo, pushing the ball up the floor.
Connecticut, the best rebounding margin in America. Syracuse has not been a very good rebounding team, and that's one of the big reasons why Terrence Roberts actually went into the starting lineup. As you look at Syracuse tonight, are they playing a lot better than they have at times recently, or are they just overmatching inferior competition?
Well, I think it's a combination of both now. I mean, I think that Rutgers used theirs up last night. But the bottom line is, you look at the shooting, McNamara picking his spots, being able to get other people involved, Syracuse able to run more. You know, it's a confidence builder. And yes, Terrence Roberts, he gives them an energy level out there, very active on the board that really matches up with the Rudy Gays and the Charlie Villanova and Josh Williams of Connecticut.
McNamara nails another three. His third of the half, his fifth of the game. And he's got 22 points.
Well, again, you know, if there's any time to come out of the slump, this is it. As I mentioned before, came into this game hitting only 21 of his last 72 field goal attempts, including 12 of his last 46 three-pointers. And he's writing that ship right now.
There have been 3 common denominators in the 6 Syracuse losses this year. One is every single loss has come to a ranked opponent. Another one, as you mentioned, Gerry McNamara struggling to shoot. Not here tonight, but McNamara has not shot well in any of their losses. And they've been out-rebounded rather easily in all of their losses. So those are the things they've got to think about. Right now, Jim Boeheim's probably saying to himself, hey, Jerry, save a couple of those for tomorrow night, although he's thrilled with the kind of night McNamara is having. Jimmy English banks went into the other end. Watkins to McNamara. Here they go. Well, McNamara using some judgment, says big lead, 6 minutes left, don't need the dunk, need to run some clock. McNamara is 6 for 7 from three-point range tonight. Look at the extra pass from Watkins to Warrick.
Well, we talked about, again, playing 3 nights in a row, and a lot of people at home are probably wondering why don't they rest Warrick or McNamara, and I think it's still because of the potency of Rutgers from beyond the arc. You know, you take a little more time off, another couple of minutes won't hurt to make sure that this game is in hand. I mean, you obviously know that the three-point line is a great equalizer. You're going to take some time away from them. The other side of it also is that, remember, these guys had a day off or several days off, and you want to make sure that they're sharp.
The 2 stars, both of them first-team All-Big East performers, and Warrick, the Big East Player of the Year. They've combined for 48 points here tonight. The tip is good for Pace, who used his offhand, his right hand, to tip in that miss. Talk about your guy who specializes in doing the little things. Watkins might have gotten away with the foul right there. And now it looks like some changes are going to come. Roberts coming to the scorer's table. Josh Wright as well. So McNamara may be in his final moments on the floor here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to get him out. Very important cog, not only his ability to shoot from beyond the arc, but also his ability to create plays.
How can you not appreciate Josh Pace when you watch the things that he does, the nose he has for the ball, his instincts out on the floor? Gerry McNamara sure appreciates it. Got to appreciate also what the 2 stars, Warrick and McNamara, have done tonight, man.
Well, Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, again, Hakim Warrick in that paint. Very few peers. Gerry McNamara just dazzles you with his ability to pick shots, raise it up, quick release, and then the added dimension, particularly this year, his ability to make plays. Penetration, kicking, just making his team so much better.
And Warrick and McNamara have been huge here tonight, combining for 48 points, already 11 points above their season average. And as Josh Wright comes into the game and Terrence Roberts comes into the game, Warrick and McNamara have gone out, presumably for the last 4:18, unless things take a turn for the worse. Time to save some energy and get ready for a matchup with the Connecticut Huskies tomorrow night in what's sure to be a great semifinal here for the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. The Syracuse team that started 20-1 but lost 5 of 9 coming into the Big East Tournament. Wigan, wild shot. And loose ball comes down to Roberts. Boy, Wright's tiny. Even that headband looks too big for him. Looks like he's wearing Hakim Warrick's headband. 3:48 to go. Syracuse in a laugher right now, leading Rutgers by 25. Warrick and McNamara the story tonight. Syracuse on their way to the semis, and we're on our way to Scott Reese. All right, Scott, thank you. Inside 3 minutes to go here at the Garden. And Syracuse on their way to an easy win. Josh Wright misses the three. Out of bounds to Rutgers. So we're looking at the 2 seed, Connecticut taking on the 3 seed, Syracuse, in one semifinal. And then the 4 seed, Villanova, taking on the 8 seed, West Virginia, in the other semi after West Virginia surprised Boston College today, 78-72. A career-high 21 for Mike Gansey of the Mountaineers. Big day for Randy Foy of the Wildcats in their win over Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh just did not look like themselves today. Neither did Boston College led. Both of those teams came out very flat.
Well, on the Boston College side, I don't have any reason to believe that they have an excuse. Again, watching the other games, watching West Virginia play the day before, they should have realized that you come out with fire in your eyes. You come out breathing fire. And instead, they tried to sit back, let the game come to them. If they had played from the beginning the way they played the first 15 minutes of the second half, they'd win that game by 10 points. But give West Virginia credit for their execution. You know, you give them credit for holding on, having some poise, enough poise to hold on, particularly Kevin Pittsnogle in the big 3 in the second half.
Douby to Waterstrap for the bucket for Rutgers. It would appear with what West Virginia's done that all 4 teams in the semis in this tournament have now locked up bids to the dance, so that nobody is playing for their tournament of hopes. You'd have to think West Virginia with another win over a ranked team. Watkins home. There one saying, yeah. He does it like I do it.
That got me excited. I'm up off the bench. And in that second game with Pittsburgh and Villanova, it just tells you how well Villanova's playing. Pittsburgh is not a poor team by any stretch of the imagination. They're a very good team, and Villanova really manhandled them both physically and quickness. They really disrupted the Pittsburgh offense.
College game night coming up after the end of this game here tonight, and then a quarterfinal from the Mountain West. San Diego State against Air Force. So stay tuned for that here tonight on ESPN2. And we invite you to join us again tomorrow night over on ESPN in high definition for both of our semifinals. Villanova, West Virginia beginning at 7. And then shortly after 9 o'clock, Connecticut and Syracuse. The last 2 national champions will meet in the semifinal. Here at the Big East Championship, Connecticut trying to beat Syracuse for the 3rd time this season. And you'll have 2 coaches each with 700 or more wins. Goaltending counted for Bailey. For the 2nd time in less than a week, you'll have a couple of 700-win coaches matching up against one another. Calhoun defeated Boeheim on Saturday. And there it is, both of them over 700 now. Both of them finalists for induction into the Hall of Fame. Shot clock turned off, and the Syracuse fans on their feet in appreciation of a very good effort. A spectacular effort at times by their superstars. Hakim Warrick and Gerry McNamara combined for 48 points, the inside-outside combination. Rutgers' season comes to a close as they will wind up 10-19. Syracuse moves on to the semis to play Connecticut tomorrow night. What more do you need to say about the drama we'll have here at the Garden? Shortly after 9 o'clock, as Jim Boeheim's wife Julie looks on, anticipating tomorrow night, West Virginia and Villanova in semifinal number 1. So here's how the Final 4 looks of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Mountaineers and the Wildcats at 7. Shortly after 9, Huskies and Orange, Calhoun and Boeheim. It's going to be a great night of basketball here in New York. Again, the final from the Garden, Syracuse 81, Rutgers 57. Coming up next year on ESPN2, it's College Game Night. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. For Len Elmore, Mark Jones, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Schulman. Thanks for watching.